Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and this is MB12 for Wednesday, June 27th, 2012, broadcasting from the Cable 12 studios on Robinson Road. In news tonight, the Commissioner of Police allays fears of police underreporting rapes. Prime Minister Christie reveals a gambling referendum is coming up in the near future. A popular radio talk show host before the Supreme Court. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. Your MB12 starts right now. Thanks for joining us. Police have arrested 2 men for questioning in connection with a string of armed robberies, burglaries, and rapes, but are still on the hunt for more alleged suspects. This after police revealed that numerous sexual assaults occurred during early morning home invasions throughout New Providence over the last few weeks. Today, the police commissioner shed some light on the investigations and the prevalence of rape in the country. Here's Nakia DeVoe.
Commissioner of Police Ellison Greenslade telling members of the press today that the Royal Bahamas Police Force is very concerned about the incidence of rape in the country. But he said while one rape is one too many, he's pleased to report that the numbers are actually down. But Greenslade says he does not want to downplay the number of rapes and other forms of sexual assaults that are reported to the police force. According to the commissioner, he has dedicated resources to solving rape cases after police received several reports of 1 or 2 men breaking into homes in quiet communities, robbing and then sexually assaulting residents at gunpoint between 2 and 6 a.m. Head of the Central Detective Unit Superintendent Paul Roll revealed today that Enoch Yulin, aka Pumpkin, and Donovan Stirrup, aka Tin Man, are in police custody and are being questioned in relation to a string of similar incidents. They were arrested overnight just a short time after a wanted bulletin for both men was issued Tuesday evening. But although those 2 suspects are behind bars, Greenslade said police are still searching for more men.
We have a number of prolific offenders whose modus operandi are well known to us, and we have targeted them. I'm prepared to go any closer because I do not wish for them to elude us. But do I have faces? Yes. Do I have names? Yes. Do I have fingerprints? Yes. Am I looking? Yes. We are making progress.
He said that due to the sensitive nature of the investigation, he could not reveal much information and could only say that it is not one group of men responsible for all the incidents. There were 4 reported sexual assaults in eastern New Providence over the past few weeks and 4 alleged rapes in western New Providence in recent months, according to police. The commissioner also aimed to quash concerns that police have no way of proving who the rapists are. He told reporters today that rape kits and DNA testing are used in their investigations.
We do a lot of scientific work. We have very, very capable Bahamians in our employ. Many of them are civilian employees that are fully a part of this organization, and I am very impressed with the level of work that they do. I have devoted significant resources to these investigations. I have directed that we break the mold and do some things a bit differently in terms of our speed of operations, and we're certainly looking at correlation data and many other unique things to determine precisely what we have and who we are looking at.
Several women told our news team yesterday that they've been living in fear since the rape warning was issued Monday. But Greenslade said the majority of rape cases in the Bahamas still involve people who know each other, and he once again encouraged women to be vigilant, familiar with the people around them, and aware of their surroundings. He says the police force is working to take care of the rest.
Yes, there are cases where people have taken all of the precautions that they can, and perpetrator defeats locking mechanisms, is able to invade the privacy of a home, and certainly cause significant harm to people in their residences. That is a problem. So we're very concerned about this term home invasion, and we've been hearing far too much of that lately. And so we're continuing to pay attention to it. I've dedicated additional police resources. Saturation patrols are ongoing. Our urban and rural people are doing fantastic work on the streets. And I'm very, again, encouraged as to where we're going.
The commissioner also responded to criticisms that the police force is too tight-lipped when it comes to reporting incidents of rape.
You have to also understand that on the other side of this discussion are innocent victims and their families whose identities must be protected, whose location must be protected, and who I do not wish, listen to me carefully, to be repeat victims as a result of negligence on my part or my organization in saying too much. We go door to door where we have to those people that are concerned, where we perceive that there is a threat. We get ahead of that, predictive policing side of the house, and we do some work. There are some things that we don't just broadcast at the wrong time. Remember, we're trying to detect and arrest the perpetrators. Why would I give them the information to allow them to be even more elusive?
Greenslade said his officers are well-trained professionals who know what they're doing, and he's confident that police will decrease the number of home invasions. He asked members of the public to let officers do their jobs. Reporting for NB12, I'm Nakia DeVoe.
And thousands of voters may get the opportunity to reject or vote in favor of gambling in the Bahamas sometime this year. That's when Prime Minister Perry Christie says he would like a gambling referendum to take place. While the government will not encourage Bahamians to vote for gambling, Christie says it does have economic benefits. The Prime Minister says his government has already met with religious leaders who strongly oppose the idea, and representatives from the various web shops in the Bahamas. Vonique Toot reports.
In 6 months or less, Bahamians could decide whether gambling becomes legal in the Bahamas. Shortly after addressing senior public officials during the 2012-2013 Fiscal Position Symposium today, Prime Minister Perry Christie said his government has not yet set a date for a gambling referendum. However, he hopes it will happen by the end of this year. Though the government will not seek to sway voters, Christie admitted that legalizing web shops and establishing a national lottery would have significant revenue implications. Additionally, he says the government will not continue to what he calls institutionalize hypocrisy by pretending as if web shops don't exist.
It is something that I think is very necessary to remove these enormous contradictions that exist in our country, where every single Bahamian is walking around knowing that they exist. And we cannot have the system, the government of the Bahamas, where people are paying national insurance payments, making other institutional payments, and then otherwise pretending that this activity isn't lawful and doesn't exist. That cannot go any further.
Before the May 7th general election, both the Progressive Liberal Party and Free National Movement pledged to hold a gambling referendum if elected. Christie says the Ingram administration jump-started the process before the election.
The former government had done a lot of work on that, and even to the point where they had draft legislation. But we are reviewing all of that with a view to, as I said, providing the Bahamian public initially with the framework that we pursue, and then the actual how the referendum questions will look.
Once the people decide, Christie says public policy will govern itself accordingly. If the majority of Bahamians vote against gambling, would web shops be shut down?
Well, it will be logical. It'll be logical. I mean, the point is that if Bahamians will make a decision on what they want. If they say we want it, they have it. If they say they don't want it, and by the majority vote, then it won't happen. And that means that it will remain against the law and be rigidly enforce the law.
The Prime Minister says gambling is a topic that he recently discussed with leaders of the Bahamas Christian Council, who are extremely concerned about its impact on the Bahamian family. He says he fully expects them to campaign against gambling.
It is not a campaign that we will participate in. We are sort of just simply being able to put a question to the Bahamian people. And we imagine the church, I know the church will have a lot to say about it in opposition to some of it, all of it, and I know the proponents of it will have a lot to say. So I anticipate that there will be that process taking place leading into the referendum.
In addition to speaking with religious leaders, the Prime Minister says his government will continue to speak with owners of those vape shops as well. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonnie Tude.
Well, 44 days since the Christie Administration's first cabinet meeting, Prime Minister Perry Christie says he likes the progress his government has made thus far. He says he is encouraged by our economy and the new crime-fighting initiatives rolled out by his government. However, he admitted that the thousands of voters who supported the Progressive Liberal Party in the May 7th general election are growing impatient and are ready to see the PLP's many campaign promises come to fruition.
What has happened is that the economy is challenged. So we're fighting on two fronts now in a major way, crime and joblessness. It takes time to bring about the jobs that are necessary for people. And we can hear the clamor already of people who elected us that, you know, they are impatient and they want progress. And clearly, you can see and hear from me that it is pressing me very hard. I'm at it for many, many hours in the day.
Christie says his government is working hard to make things happen. He says he's also encouraged by the meetings he's having with investors and expects to have positive news about jobs and the economy in the not-too-distant future.
We have to have economic activity, renewed economic activity in Grand Bahama. We have to continue with what's happening in Abaco. We are going to have something very special happen in Bimini. We're going to have something very special happen soon in Cat Island. These are matters that are happening. We're hoping to have something special happen in Maguana. All of those are intended, okay, to stem the flow of people in and to create the reverse happening, and that will be good. In the meantime, Albany is about to move to another phase and employ more people.
For years, the illegal drug trade here in the Bahamas has been fought using a multi-agency approach. Initiatives like Operation Bahamas Turks and Caicos has been one of the longest-running partnerships. But local and U.S. officials say it's time to not only reduce the supply, but also the insatiable demand. Jasmine Bonamy reports.
It's a partnership that has existed for years. Bahamian law enforcement officials teaming up with officials from the Turks and Caicos Islands and the United States. And while all sides say the partnership has been effective, they all agree that it's not all about frontline interdiction. Partnerships targeting the illegal drug trade between the Bahamas and United States date back for decades, and one can see why. The discovery of an estimated $40 million worth of marijuana in several Grand Bahama fields has once again underscored that the drug trade is still a serious problem. The focus of officials has mainly been to stop the flow of narcotics through the more than 200,000 square miles of Bahamian water. But head of Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs at the U.S. Embassy, David J., says while stopping the drug runners is important, a more holistic approach is necessary.
Many of the same things that make Bahamas such a wonderful tourist destination, unfortunately, its strategic location also brings some ills as well. And so we've partnered closely with the government of the Bahamas for a while to try to counteract some of those ills, the illicit trafficking and such. So we are constantly working with the Bahamian government, with both the National Drug Council as well as with the Ministry of National Security to see what new pilot programs, what additional initiatives we can start. We're looking at various ones involving civil society, because I think that it has to be a whole of society effort. It cannot only just be certain government entities, and that has been the outline. That's within the outline of the Bahamian National Drug Strategy as well.
Jay made the comments during an op-ed demonstration at the Defense Force's Coral Harbor base that exposed winners of the Youth Express Anti-Drug Awareness Contest to the fight against drug smuggling. Jay says U.S. officials believe reducing the demand and cutting off the supply must be the newest tactic adopted by all involved.
Op-ed is definitely a cornerstone, and it's been a long-standing, very successful partnership. We have many U.S. government agencies working shoulder to shoulder in partnership with the U.S. and the Bahamian law enforcement forces. This is definitely the front line.
The multifaceted approach is one that is supported by co-chair of the Bahamas National Drug Council, Joseph Darville. Darville says the key to reducing demand is targeting young people.
We started off in the early 70s with drugs, people dying from drugs. There were no guns, no one dying actually from violence associated with drugs. A lot of people died as a result of the use of drugs. We have to protect particularly our children. And so it's not just about interdiction, it's not just about imprisoning or new laws or regulations, etc. It is about the human person, especially the young human persons.
Meantime, Jake says the United States Embassy is looking to pitch a number of initiatives to the Bahamian government that they feel will help the fight against narcotics. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.